Brent Venables got a 6-year contract extension from Oklahoma as the Sooners get set to enter the SEC this upcoming season. I think the timing of that extension is perfect because of all the teams that are moving conferences this year, USC, UCLA, Oregon, Washington, Texas, and Oklahoma. I don't think any team is in for a bigger reality check in 2024 than the Sooners. They go in with momentum, right? They won 10 games last year. Jackson Arnold looks promising as a young quarterback. The recruiting momentum is real for Brent Venables. But one thing we do know in college football is things change quickly. At the snap of a finger, one bad season, one bad loss even can really transform a program and undermine a lot of the positivity they've had maybe in previous years going forward. And I think when you look at right now what Oklahoma's facing in 2024, I think they're facing a 7-5 year. And so for all the good momentum that Brent Venables has been able to garner so far in his time on the job, I think, by the way, he's going to succeed eventually. I think he's the right man for the job. I think if you give him a long enough runway, he is going to get Oklahoma to the top level of the SEC consistently. The problem for him is right now, I don't think they are built to compete at the top of the SEC. And so I think it is going to be a little bit of a downturn. You are going to get some bumps in the road. I think it's going to be ugly in 2024. So I think the timing-wise for Venables getting this extension is good because I think it buys him time. We all look. I'm not stupid here. I'm not naive. I get schools have no problem eating big-time contracts in order to get out from their current situation, a la Jimbo Fisher and A&M, right? Obviously the most notable example. So this does not guarantee or buy him, I don't know, 3 years from now for Venables, but I think it is a step in the right direction because this year, if you're a Sooner fan, it's going to be rough. I know you know the schedule. For those unaware right now of the Oklahoma schedule, and maybe you're thinking about, do I, do a little win-loss, put some money down here on Oklahoma's win-loss number, which I believe I got to double check. I believe it's 9.5. Look at the slate the SEC decided to throw their newcomer to the league. They play Tennessee at home. And when you look at, all right, we're going to try this here. So we're going to sound this out. This is the first time saying this name. Bear with me if I get it wrong. I apologize to all those at Rocky Top here. But first shot here. When you look at Nico Iamaleava, I think I got that right. He's got promise. He's one of the most highly touted quarterbacks in his recruiting class a few years ago. Now he gets the reins. There is reason to think the Vols are going to put up points bare minimum. That's not going to be, I think, an easy rollover game for the Sooners, even though it's at home. You're at Auburn. I think Hugh Freeze is going to have success. It's a tough, really, really tough place to play in general. I think that place is going to be jacked up too with now some new blood coming to town. But I think the offense is turning the corner and we'll start to see some improvements here in 2024, year 2 under Hugh Freeze. You play Texas like you do every single year. They are, a top 3 team in the country. At worst, top 4 team in the country. They are going to be an absolute threat. They are on the short list of teams that could win a national title this year. You're at Ole Miss, who is one of the most talented teams in the country. They're going to be a preseason top 10 team. It's a tough place to play. And this feels like the year for Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss. With Jackson Dart coming back, some of the receivers coming back, some big-time defensive additions by Lane Kiffin in the portal, this feels like the year Ole Miss has to break through. In terms of at least, let's say, making the playoff and winning a playoff game, this feels like the perfect opportunity for the Rebels to really make some noise and have a truly successful season for the first time in a long time. You're at Mizzou, which is, you talk about underrated teams or maybe teams not getting the attention they deserve now. Mizzou is going to make the playoff. They were 11-2 last year. They returned 9 starters on offense. They are a team that I think not enough people are talking about, but pretty soon, when you look at their schedule, when you look at the returning production, they are going to be, I think this game is later on in the year. This is going to be, at least by the time Oklahoma plays them, they'll be in the top 10. Mizzou will be a top 10 team by the time the Sooners roll in and have to play them, which, again, top 10 team on the road, not easy whatsoever. You have Alabama coming to Norman, okay, but I don't think Alabama, Kalen DeBoer's not, he's obviously a drop-off from Saban because nobody's Nick Saban, but he ain't no slouch. He still has, despite some of the big names leaving, he has retained a lot of talent. I think Jalen Milroe is going to develop here in year number 2 and play better and more consistently. Bama is not, they are still going to be very, very tough here. I think they do make the playoff in year number one. And then you finish the year at LSU. That's 7 games right there. Where I think if you go 3-4, Tennessee at Auburn, Texas, at Ole Miss, at Mizzou, Bama, at LSU. I think honestly, if you go 3-4, that's a win. That's a big time win for the Sooners right now in 2024. And that's then assuming you take care of business everywhere else, don't drop a game you shouldn't. I think they're looking at 7-5. And so that, I think, does halt momentum if you're Oklahoma, which is why I do think this contract extension for Brent Venables is important and also perfectly timed. He needs time. I think in this transition from the Big 12 to the SEC, you're not going to get instant results. You're not going to go to Atlanta and play in the SEC championship game the first year. Your rival will in Texas, which I'm sure almost makes fans more impatient. But I think if you play the long game with Venables, you will be happy. It's a tough transition, and the SEC did you no favors with this schedule. Patience, I think, is not only a virtue, it is necessary here in order to get the most success. 2024 could be rough, but I think this extension shows, hey, look, we're looking just past this year, and in order to keep momentum going forward, I think you got to stand behind your guy in Brent Venables, which is why I do think this is a perfectly timed and also very important contract extension for Brent Venables at Oklahoma.